new studios. Tell me about the studios that we're bringing on board.
Those are studios, we've had a long relationship with many of them, and the thing that was really great about this moment was we were able to invest in them in a way that's going to unlock their best creative potential.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Let's keep it real. The last time it was really worth owning an Xbox was the 360 era. And there's reason as to why I say this. Two things: exclusives and third-party support. I know hearing the word exclusive is almost like a foreign language to Xbox fans nowadays, but yeah, once upon a time, Xbox had more exclusives than the unholy trinity that is Halo, Gears, and Forza. Now before any bozos decide to call me a Sony fanboy or Nintendo fanboy, don't waste your time. I've owned all the Xbox consoles except the Xbox Series X/S, and I really have no intention in owning it. What does it currently have that warrants anyone to go out and pay hundreds of dollars for anyway? I know what you're thinking, but Game Pass. Yeah, sure. Get Game Pass for a year that rounds out to over $100. And if I choose to not get a year's worth of Game Pass, I'm still spending money on a subscription service where I don't really own the games. Let's jump into the great lineup of games that Game Pass has to offer. A bunch of fodder that's probably available on cell phones, cheap indie games, high on nostalgia, but low on innovation. A bunch of mid, third-party games that get sent to the bargain bin shortly after release. And 360 and original Xbox games that most people already have played years ago. And good luck finding a kid who's willing to play old games. Just go look at the list of these games, middle of the road titles. There are a few standouts on Game Pass, absolutely. But people make this service to be more than what it is. All these games to play, but how many of them are you going to actually finish? Are you just going to play 10 minutes of each game and then hop on social media about how great of a service Game Pass is? Now I get it. Not everyone will have the same mindset going into Game Pass. But once again, look at that list of games. You can tell there's a load of underwhelming titles with the sole purpose to create the illusion of a great deal. You would probably be better off paying full price for games you really want to play and have the intentions of finishing them, instead of dipping your hands in the Game Pass cookie jar. I don't know about any of you, but I like actually owning my games. And I know we have to install most of the games nowadays, but at least I can do what I please with my games. So I can sell it or get a refund for it if I want to. I'm not stuck with the game forever or have to wait for Microsoft support to get back to me. As it pertains to the exclusives, well, that's the sad part of all this. You see, Microsoft seemed to be more interested in releasing new controllers than releasing exclusives. Now I know they acquired a shit ton of studios because they had shut down so many of their third-party studios. Not only that, but they also canceled a handful of exclusives developed by third-party studios, one being Scalebound from Platinum Games. Anyone remember Scalebound? The game Microsoft just couldn't keep their grubby mitts off, and an ambitious new IP from Platinum Games. Sadly, Microsoft still owns the Scalebound IP, but I hope Platinum, or maybe another studio that has published some of Platinum's titles in the past, would buy the Scalebound IP. It's pathetic that Microsoft can spend billions on acquisitions, but can't do anything with IPs they still own. Scalebound is not the only IP to get fucked over by Microsoft. Let's go over a few. Remember that original Xbox exclusive Phantom Dust? That series didn't see a sequel, it missed the whole 360 generation, but there was some hope. We saw a reveal trailer for a Phantom Dust remake for Xbox One. And then it got canceled. Before Microsoft was pulling out billions of acquisition money, they were pulling out the scythe on these exclusive games. Say, anyone remember Sunset Overdrive? One of the early exclusives for the Xbox One. It was developed by Insomniac Studios. Maybe you heard of them. They made the Ratchet & Clank games and Marvel Spider-Man. Now they are owned by Sony, and Insomniac owns the Sunset Overdrive IP. So hopefully after Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine releases, they can make a sequel to a highly underrated game. Another game that Microsoft could have done more with, but chose not to. I mentioned how Sunset Overdrive was an early Xbox One exclusive. However, there's another game Microsoft abandoned after its release, a brand new IP that launched with the Xbox One. That IP being Rise Son of Rome, developed by Crytek, the studio that made the Crysis series. While it was far from amazing, it was still an interesting title and one that probably would have benefited from a sequel. Crazy how all these games get cancelled or ignored, but fucking Crackdown 3 goes through development hell and manages to come out. And the funny thing about all this is how quickly everyone forgot and moved on from Crackdown 3. I guess all that talk about power of the cloud didn't do shit. The one exclusive series that Xbox had that got royally screwed over by Microsoft is the Fable series. Originally releasing on the OG Xbox, Fable saw 3 mainline titles and a few cheap spin-off games. A Castle Crashers knockoff, an Xbox arcade pub minigame, and the dreaded Kinect title. Oddly enough, other Xbox exclusives such as Halo, Gears, and Forza never saw these type of experimental games. The reason for this is that Microsoft didn't care about Fable like they did those other series. Microsoft didn't care about their only third-person action RPG that saw your character change their appearance depending on the choices you make, choices that would reflect how NPCs treat you. I guess they figured everyone just wanted that futuristic first-person shooter or that third-person post-apocalyptic shooter or that racing game. But now Fable is coming back after Fable Legends got cancelled years ago, resulting in Microsoft shutting down Lionhead Studios. Microsoft finally decided to bring Fable back, now developed by the Forza team. And if reports are to be true, then this new Fable will be an MMO aiming for a modern day audience. Oh yeah, that's definitely what Fable fans have been waiting for all these years. I wouldn't be surprised if this Fable game gets cancelled. While editing this video, I stumbled upon a handful of original Xbox exclusives that obviously didn't see a sequel. I was aware of some of the Xbox 360 exclusives such as The Last Remnant, Infinite Undiscovery, and Lost Odyssey, with Lost Odyssey being made by Mistwalker, a team led by the creator of Final Fantasy. So Microsoft had the first new game from the original creator of Final Fantasy and couldn't be bothered to give it the same aggressive marketing they usually give Halo, Gears, and Forza. Guess that would have been too much work for Microsoft. Speaking of Final Fantasy, you fanboys claim you want Square Enix to put more games on Xbox, yet we saw you guys were nowhere to be found when JRPGs came to 360. And there's a good chance you guys didn't buy the JRPGs on Xbox One from Square Enix or other companies. So why should Square Enix or any other Japanese developer put their games on a platform where majority of the player base doesn't support? Xbox fanboys would rather talk about the lack of Japanese games on Xbox but won't buy any of them. It's because all that talk is fake outrage. The purpose of the outcry on social media is to continue fighting a lame console war. It seems like unless it's Halo, Gears, or Forza, Microsoft won't put much effort into assisting with marketing or funding. They sure as hell will try to tamper with the vision some developers have for their games. I'm certain that had a lot to do with Scalebound's rocky development and cancellation. And now after Sony released successful single-player exclusives on the PS4, Microsoft all of a sudden wants to care about single player games. They didn't have to spend millions to acquire third-party studios to put their single-player experiences on Xbox consoles. Microsoft had access to single-player titles dating back to the original Xbox, but they chose to ignore those games from studios. Instead of shutting down development teams that could have made titles that weren't Halo, Gears, or Forza, Xbox could have had a ton of exclusives right now. With a lack of exclusives, tons of worthless controllers, and God's greatest creation, that is Game Pass, Xbox had to have something else going for it, right? Perhaps yet another overhyped sales pitch from Microsoft and Xbox fans alike. Indeed, there is one last feature that Xbox has, a feature you would probably be taking full advantage of since there's barely any exclusives on the last gen and current gen Xbox consoles. That feature being backwards compatibility. Here you can go back in time when Xbox had games worth playing. You can explore the library of OG Xbox and 360 titles, back when games were really fun and were for the most part functional. You can go back to when Halo and Gears of War was actually worth playing. There are so many great old games to choose from. However, while the list of backwards compatible games are large, there are a larger amount of games missing from both OG Xbox and 360. Some of the backwards compatible games are only playable if you own the disc. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a report not that long ago saying there will be no more backwards compatible games coming to Xbox. I'll admit backwards compatibility is great and should be possible on all consoles. Not only that, but all games should be backwards compatible. Why exclude past titles from that feature? And that feature should not be only possible through a lame-ass streaming service, Sony. All of these consoles should allow us to play all of our old games through disc or if we own them digitally. Figure it out already. Backwards compatibility aside, being able to play old games is not a great selling point when it comes down to buying a brand new console. We should be looking at the future of gaming, looking back at the past and seeing how much Xbox has regressed over the years. It's just sad. Where are the new games? Where is the quality? Because I'm looking around and most of the upcoming Xbox exclusives looks like they should be on Game Pass. Why should anyone pay full price for these games? And with the price increase of Xbox exclusives, don't think your precious Game Pass will increase in price either. But don't expect the quality to improve. All of these $70 games have not seen a noticeable increase in quality. Don't let these talking heads fool you. Majority of current games somehow can't do things that games from 10 years could do. Xbox fans should expect better. Microsoft has the money to put out quality games. You shouldn't have to wait a full year for an exclusive. With all these studios Papa Phil keeps talking about, working on brand new exciting games, but where are they? Microsoft are more interested in selling you game subscription services and controllers, but can't sell you on their games. They rather show you all the old games you can play, but are radio silent when it comes to their upcoming brand new titles. Face it, they have nothing. Maybe Xbox needs new leadership or something. All I know is that once the Xbox 360 generation ended, so did something in Microsoft. The decline of Xbox started with the Xbox One, and it will continue with the Xbox Series X/S. Sony and Nintendo need competition, especially Sony. We need all of these companies to be neck and neck with one another. Because if this was a race, Xbox would be dead last. And I know they can catch up. I want them to catch up. I want to see the Xbox of old. I want the Xbox that came into the console scene and got people's attention. I want the Xbox that came out guns blazing with the Xbox 360. That's the Xbox I want to see. But I don't think Microsoft and the Xbox cult want to see that. They'd rather see subscription services, fancy controllers, and acquisitions to hide the cold hard truth. The truth that Microsoft clearly has the resources to put out exclusives from existing studios, but refuse to do anything with besides whore out Halo, Gears, and Forza. Everything else gets ignored, canceled, or shut down. Unfortunately, it seems like there's no Xbox fanboy willing to call out Microsoft on the repeated pattern of fuck-ups, but would rather keep playing mental gymnastics with the obvious issues with Microsoft and the terrible state Xbox is in. While you corporate slaves eagerly wait months for one exclusive to validate your purchase of that overpriced mini fridge, the rest of us will easily play quality exclusives from the other leading platforms that are willing to give us a real reason to buy their products. And unless Microsoft addresses the real issues with Xbox, then expect another console generation of mediocrity.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. So, what'll I make you? Good? You're not good. You just know how to hide, how to lie. Me, I don't have that problem. Me, I always tell the truth, even when I lie.